Hi, everybody. Welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. I got an email from April Abeg. Subject line, new conference center in the Northland development. And in the email, at 1 minute and 35 seconds, says a new conference center and hotel. We are building Zion with our hearts and our hands. April. Okay, so I had to look into this. If you don't know what we're talking about, I think it was sometime last week, I did a video about all these things that are taking place in the Kansas City area, including Jackson County and the city of Independence. Well, part of what we covered was the fact that right here we have the Kansas City, Missouri temple. And if you go directly north, there's this triangular piece of land right here that the church owns, and it's going to be developed. It's a major development. And we covered this story. This is KCTV5, where they described it as a major new development. If we go back to my map, we talked about a few other things that are going on down here in Jackson County, in a city called Lee Summit. There's another piece of land that the church owns that's going to be developed. I think somebody told me in a live stream that I had the wrong, this place marker in the wrong spot. I haven't verified that, but once I do verify exactly where, I'll move it. But for right now, it's down here in Jackson County. So the church has two pieces of property that it's going to develop around the same time. We've also noted other significant things that are going on. You have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Royals, where they're moving to other stadiums. These are no longer going to be the homes of these two teams, and it's really close to Independence. It's not. I still have to double check. These are not in Independence, but they're just outside city limits, I believe. You can see the Temple Lot area here, and then downtown Independence. So we're going to be talking about this because there's some new information out about this project that I think is really interesting. So the link that April gave was to this. This is Fox 4 News, Kansas City. And, they show the Kansas City, Missouri temple from the Northland area. And thankfully, they put out an article on their website. Okay. No decision Tuesday on financing plan for $2.3 billion Northland development. Kansas City is working on laying the framework for a mega development, which that by itself is interesting that they're using that verbiage. I guess this really is a big thing. For a mega development in the Northland, they hope will be a gateway to the city. That's also a very interesting phrase, a gateway to the city. The project labeled Pioneer Crossing. Okay, so now this is the next interesting phrase. In this case, name, because the last time I covered this article was saying that it's being dubbed Plaza of the Northland. But I guess it has this other name, Pioneer Crossing, which that's interesting too, especially since this is church property. I don't know if they're the ones that named, like if our church is the one that named this project Pioneer Crossing, if that's ultimately what it's going to be known as. But we all know that the word pioneer is pretty important in our church, especially when it comes to church history in places like Missouri. So I don't know. I just think that's interesting. Okay, so the project labeled Pioneer Crossing. Sorry, I just have to think about that for another second. Think about the church right now as the church it continues to grow. It's having more and more of a presence here in Missouri. I've shared everything with you that I know about church growth in this area. We're going to have a new mission at the beginning of July. We've talked about the numbers. There's so much going on here in Missouri, and you have the church, which again, I don't know if they chose this name, but Project Pioneer Crossing, and it's just right north of the Kansas City Temple. It's just interesting. Okay. And then it has been billed by some as the Plaza of the Northland. So I updated the name of this place marker on my Google Earth map. The link for this is in the description box below if you want to take a look yourself. Um, but okay, so we have this happening directly north of the temple, but there's more to this story. The triangle of land bordered by Berry Road and US 152 on the north, I-35 on the west, and Shoal Creek Parkway on the east has never been available before. It is owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And in case you guys didn't know, Shoal Creek, I should have highlighted this. I always thought that this was interesting when I first realized it. Shoal Creek is the creek that Hans Mill was on. The Hans Mill community settlement. It was on Shoal Creek, not near here. It's over in, I think it's in Caldwell County. So over kind of near far west, relatively speaking. But this is the exit that you take when you're going on I-435. You get off at Shoal Creek. So I always thought that was interesting. Okay. Never been available before. Kansas City worked on a plan it presented to the church, which has its own Utah-based development company now ready to head to a Las Vegas convention this summer looking for interested retailers. Quote, now this is interesting right here. Look at the red highlight. Billions of dollars of development. The church is going all out. I don't know what that means, but that sounds pretty good to me. The church is going all out. Now, I'm not assuming that this has anything to do with, necessarily building up the church in this area. This may strictly be a business thing. The church invests money so that it has money for things like the second coming. And the church has actually said that. Usually when it talks about church finances and the money that it has saved, and it's talking about the second coming, they usually talk about it in the sense of disaster relief, and not just for members of the church, but people throughout the world, whether you're in our church or not. The church a lot of times is there. Sometimes the first one's there to provide relief. So I don't know. This may just be a financial thing. I don't know how long they've owned this piece of land, but if we zoom out, here's the Kansas City area. And it's pretty well developed around here. So it seems like they've probably been holding on to this for a while. But now it's going to be developed. I'll be interested to see, what happens. Okay, continuing. Okay, so the church is going all out, according to Kansas City City Councilman Kevin O'Neill. Okay, later on, the redevelopment plan calls for a mix of single-family homes, townhomes, multifamily residential units, retail and restaurant space, a hotel, and possible conference center, office buildings, and entertainment or sports facilities. Okay, now, conference center. In our church, when we hear conference center, we typically think of the conference center, just north of the Salt Lake Temple where we have general conference. I'm not so sure that is what is meant here. Not saying that that can't be the case. The one thing about it is if the church was going to build a conference center outside of Utah, that by itself would be pretty unusual. I'm not aware of any conference centers outside of Utah. But if this was something having to do with the church, I'm pretty sure the church would be they would want to be the ones to um, publish that first. So I'm not aware of any times that the church has had a major project, like say, what I don't know, like a temple or something having to do with historic sites or whatever, and it would come out through like the local news first. It seems like when the church is going to do something, it wants to be the one to announce it, and you'll see it in uh, the newsroom website or on church news. So I don't think that this is like a conference center for the church per se. Um, I was wondering, when the article says conference center, is that just another way of saying convention center? And I decided to look into that. On Wikipedia, it says a convention center in American English, or conference center in British English, and then it goes on. So this article would have you believe that maybe those two terms are interchangeable. I went to this website. I found this through Grok. It pointed me to this website. Um, this is themeetingmagazines.com, the conference center difference. And it essentially, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. Well, I'm probably not going to read any of it, but it makes the case that basically a convention center is like large, but then you also have smaller structures that are conference centers for less people and more private meetings. Grok also directed me to this Facebook post. This is Valley East Today, a post by Robert Kirwan. And he kind of has like a bullet point list of what's a conference center and what's a convention center. And then the bottom line: conference centers support meetings and smaller professional events. Convention centers support large, high volume events and exhibitions. And that seems right. Back in 2024, I went to Utah. There was a content creator conference in Sandy at this place called Salt Mine Productive Workspace. It doesn't have the words conference center, but I think that's kind of what this was. We did, in fact, have a conference at this place. Um, and it's small. I think there were only like something like maybe 100 to 150 people that were there. But I think this could classify as like a conference center. Um, and then when I think of like convention centers, I think about this. This building right here is the Kansas City Convention Center, like this big rectangular structure right here that has these four pylons. And by the way, I love these pylons. They don't show up very well here, this 3D rendering, but I think they're pretty incredible. They're like Art Deco style. There's a lot of there's a good amount of Art Deco, I think, in downtown Kansas City. I've never been to this convention center, but you can see that it is massive. You know, for you Star Wars fans out there, it looks like it's like the size of like a Star Destroyer or something like that. It's really cool. But yeah, I think what they're talking about here in the article, it says a hotel and possible conference center. Those two things would probably go together, like a conference center that's, I guess, maybe operated by the hotel or just right next door. So, but we'll see. But again, I think the church would announce it if it was going to do like a conference center for church purposes. All right, continuing. I think it's fantastic. It brings a lot of new stores and shops that we don't already have up here. It's a growing area, Billy Wayland said. Plans call for the first phase of the project at Shoal Creek and US 152 to be completed in 2029, and the 18th and final phase by 2040. And that's an interesting year because that's when, here in Independence in Jackson County, where I'm at, That's when this is supposed to be complete. The Imagine Independence Comprehensive Plan 2040. They've been working on this already. They're renovating the city, beautifying it, doing different things. So that's what prompted me to make that other video. Is just I'm seeing a lot of things, and I'm not going to cover it all here. You can go watch that if you want, but it's just kind of exciting. It's exciting. Whether this is strictly for investment purposes or not, I think it's exciting because it's been called by the news excuse me, a mega project, a major development. So at least financially, I think that's good for the church. And then if the church has a lot of say in how this is developed, maybe they're gonna develop it in such a way that it's going to, help support the local temple, or maybe there will be something special about it that we don't know yet. I don't know. But I just think it's so interesting. I'm so happy to be here at a time that these type of things are taking place. But yeah. So thank you for the email, April. I probably would have missed this one. So I appreciate all your emails from everybody, because I can't do it alone. There's just too many things going on. But yeah. All right, that's going to be it for this one. I'll talk to you guys later.